Hi, Eva. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Question number one: how did you first get into elite sports?
Well, actually, I started playing field hockey, and yeah, I started when I was 9 years old in the Netherlands, just playing with a local club team, and yeah, it went pretty well quite quickly. Then I joined the first women's team when I was 16, and at the age of 18, I decided to move to the United States to play field hockey there with in the collegiate setting. So I got a scholarship, so I studied and I played hockey at the same time. So that was really professional already. So I did that for 4 years because after that you have to leave. Your eligibility is over after 4 years, so I had to move back. Yeah, I always had a passion for cycling. When I was 15, I got my first road bike, but I think I did like maybe 500 kilometers per year on it just for a little bit of training and just gave me a lot of freedom. And in the United States, I brought my bike over and I did the same thing. So just some training rides. And then once a year, I would convince my teammates, some Dutch teammates mainly, to go on a big biking trip for 1 week. So in Colorado, we've been California, Utah, and then just bike from hotel to hotel with a backpack. And yeah, that really sparked my interest even more for cycling. And I always had in the back of my mind, oh, if I had another life, I would start cycling from a younger age, and I would try to become a pro cyclist. But I always thought, yeah, it would never be possible because I started way too late. And then at the end, when I finished my college in the United States, I had saved up some money and I bought a van, but actually just a minivan, not a fancy van where you have an actual bed. I just slept every night on the back seat. I just fit perfectly, and I had my bike in it. And yeah, for 3-4 months, I traveled in Colorado, California, lots of beautiful places. I put my van in open camping ground, and then every day I would bike without a computer or anything, just go out for a ride. And yeah, I still had the same feeling. Oh, I wish I'd become a professional cyclist in another life. This is so much fun, but never possible anymore. I'm way too old. I was, I think, 23 at the time. But so yeah, after 3-4 months, I went back to Holland, and then COVID hit. I moved back with my parents. Yeah, I joined actually the local field hockey club again because I thought I'll just start playing field hockey again. That's my passion. I like developing in that more. But then all the games were cancelled. We didn't have really have trainings anymore, and I started cycling even more. And then I moved to Maastricht. It's a beautiful place in the Netherlands, in the south. And I joined a local cycling club there, and I decided I would stop with field hockey mostly because I didn't want to be tied to set training times anymore. I wanted the freedom, and cycling gave me that freedom. So I started cycling with the people from my club team, or from the local club team, and against guys, and it was really fun. Everyone said, "Oh, you should do some racing," and then I think I joined already some races that year. So that was 2020, I think, or 2020, 2021. And that went pretty well. And the next year, I started racing with an actual club team in the Netherlands, so on the national level. And then after like 3 months, I joined Le Col-Wahoo, a continental team. And in that year immediately I rode the Tour de France. It was really crazy. It felt surreal. And then at the end of the year, it was really sad. The team kind of fell apart. But at the same time, it opened up a new opportunity for me because I was able to join a World Tour team, Jumbo-Visma, where I'm at now. And so here I am.
Amazing. It's such a cool story. I love how I did not know that you literally like got a van and just like went around America and cycled like without a map. Are you naturally really good at directions or something?
Uh, I am actually horrible at directions. It's the worst. But the United States is perfect in that respect because there's just, especially in those areas, there's like 3 roads you can go on. So it was hard to wander off. But I actually like the fact that I'm really bad at directions because getting lost is really nice, as long as you know kind of how to come back. But That way I always discover, or I think I discover new roads here in my training area, but I've been there so many times already. But I just don't, I forget, so it's super nice.
Women's cycling is obviously developed so much, even in the past few years. Their first women's Tour de France in however many years was last year, and then there's a second one this year. It's developed so quickly. There's so much more broadcasting about it. What about women's hockey? What is the infrastructure of that like? Is it developed compared to the men's?
To be honest, when I left at the age of 18, I wasn't a player that would have been paid the next year, because at my club there were, I think, maybe one or two players that would get paid. But I think I've read some stories about it, of course, and I noticed that yes, male field hockey players get paid a lot more than female field hockey players, and I think obviously they're trying to close the gap, but I think it's a little bit the same as in cycling. Although there's just as many people that watch women field hockey as men field hockey, I think, especially in the Netherlands, because the Dutch field hockey team is the best of the world for the women. So I think in terms of spectators, there's not a big difference, but there is a difference in pay. And with cycling, for a long time, a lot more people watched male cycling, but now female cycling is on the rise as well.
And what's the crossover between hockey and cycling? Like, where do the sports meet?
I think, yeah, well, of course, in terms of physical conditioning. So you need a good physical level to play field hockey, especially in the United States, where it's more physical than more technically developed countries. But also, I think to have a good feeling of how your body moves, just the technical skills in field hockey. I mean, of course, it's different, but the hand-eye coordination transfers, I think, to the bike as well, and just to have control over your body. Um, and yeah, I think tactically there's not much crossover. Also, I learned in the field hockey world how to perform as a team. And although, cycling is a weird sport, it's a team sport, but at the same time, there's a very big individual role for people. So it's hard to sometimes combine these two. But yeah, I think I learned to be a team player in field hockey, and that transfers to cycling.
And what do you miss about hockey?
I think just I dream a lot still about it. Just the touches, the feeling of having the ball in your stick. Yeah, I can't really explain it, but yeah, the I think the technical aspect. Of course, cycling, you also need to be technical to descend, to ride in a peloton, but yeah, it's a lot less than with field hockey.
So you mentioned just there that you rode with a continental team for half of that season, and then you stepped up to World Tour. What was the step up like? What were the differences?
Well, a lot at the same time, I feel like when I joined the continental team, it was already so professional. I was like, how can it be even more professional than this? I think it's just that there's a lot more staff. So I think, for example, last year our sports director had to do all the logistics, manager had to book our flights and everything, and now there's a whole department for that. So there's just, the tasks are more divided, and that means that everyone can do their tasks maybe even more perfect because there's more time for it. Yeah, and then also the guidance in terms of nutrition, for example, it's with Jumbo-Visma, that's a real big part of it. Nutrition, they really focus on it. So we have a nutritionist just fully committed to our team and the guys development team. And then we have, for example, 3-4 times a year skin fold measurements. They take the fat percentage of you, and then a talk also with her. If you want, you can make use of the food coach app, where you put in everything you eat and they say how much, how many calories you have to eat, how many carbs, how many fats, how many protein. So yeah, I think it's just another step. But for my feeling, it was already super professional last year, but just this is just another level. It's crazy.
So I was going to ask you about nutrition because on one of your social media posts, you were talking about how the development with the nutritionist, you've almost had to eat like carbs with a side of carbs, you said, and that dinner time, you kind of have to just eat and eat and eat and eat. But then you said that the performance aspect of that, especially in stage races, really made a difference.
No, that post was yeah. Some friends said, "Ah, Eva, you're just promoting the team," but actually, I really genuinely felt like that. Last year in the tour, I felt with the Col-Wahoo, I thought I ate a lot, but after like 4 or 5 days, I was completely empty. And then this year in the Vuelta, the nutritionist made a whole plan for us. How many, especially the carb portions, she emphasizes how many carb portions we need to eat every day, and it's really really crazy. I think, well, most of the time it's like 5 carb portions, which means one carb portion is 30 grams. So then you have 150 grams of carbs. One carb portion is the same as 125 grams of cooked pasta. So you can do the math. It's a lot.
So
Or
much.
for example, one carb portion is 100 grams of rice.
Do you prefer pasta or rice?
I prefer a mixture of pasta and rice. Rice we like to mix with chili sauce because that's also the thing. You can't really eat a lot of vegetables on the side with it. Because yeah, most of the time there's, well, at least 2 riders that want to eat low fiber, so there's no room for vegetables in our diet. And of course, I could eat the vegetables, but then there's also the problem that you have less space for the things that are really necessary, the carbs. So we just eat mostly plain rice with chili sauce and maybe a little bit of egg or something through it. This is also for breakfast, by the way. And yeah, pasta with red sauce is also fine. So, but yeah, it's not like you can eat a lot, but it's not super fun.
Yeah, for breakfast, goodness me. How do you maintain a positive relationship with food, with having to eat so much, but then also getting, like you were saying, like getting measured, like for the fat percentages and things? That's quite a difficult thing to mentally cope with.
hmm I think a lot of people also struggle with that. It's a very fine line to do everything perfect food wise, but on the other hand, if you do it perfectly, then you really have a high chance of being too perfectionist that you go to the other side. And yeah, it can lead to an eating disorder, which you see in the peloton, unfortunately, quite a lot. I think for me, they've asked me if I want to use the food coach app, so to put in everything I eat every day, and they tell me what to eat then. But for me, I think I want to wait a little bit with that until I really really want to perform, maybe at the highest level. But at the moment, I know that maybe, yeah, half a kilo of losing fat is not going to make the difference for me. For now, this weight is good, and then I prefer to improve 30 watts of my threshold instead of losing half a kilo in fat. I think once I'm at the level that I can compete with the best, then yes, of course, you want to look for the the edge. But it's, you have a chance to go over it then. But for now, I just, yeah, I also treat myself sometimes, and I don't take it too perfectly, I think.
And what does your average training week look like? It'll change throughout the year, but we could say, what's this week looked like? Because you were racing at the weekend, weren't you?
I had 2 recovery days because I was quite done after the race. Normally, it would just be one, but and then after endurance ride of 3 hours. Today I did yeah, good 3 hours of VO2 max intervals, so that was quite tough but good. And tomorrow I'll do 4.5 hours of endurance. Then Saturday recovery ride of an hour. Sunday again VO2 max efforts of 4 hours. And then I'm also tapering again. Oh, actually Monday another endurance ride, but I'm tapering again after that for the last races of the season, Italian races. Because at the moment also it's not super important to build up a good base of endurance, because yeah, the season is ending and now it's more beneficial if you just arrive fresh at the race instead of just doing a lot of trainings at the moment.
You went to the Tour de France again this year, but you had a crash and had to leave. And did you have concussion? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, I crashed hard on my head. I looked back at the Garmin data; it was 66 km per hour. I went down with, yeah,
How have you recovered from
and
that?
yeah, just took 10 days of complete rest. Didn't do much, and it looked like it was really going well. Then I started building up slowly on the text, the indoor trainer. Just did it step by step, and I, for a long time it went really well. And then sometimes there were just some setbacks, and I had to take some gas back. After 2 months, yeah, it looked like a lot of times I would go start to do some races, but then it was not so good, and yeah, then I had to take it easy again. So, but after 2 months, last weekend I finally did my first races again. So I was really happy about that.
Yeah, that's good. Concussion, it's scary, isn't it? And yeah, cycling's such a dangerous sport. Crashing 66k an hour, it'll just happen so quickly, won't it?
Yeah.
So, do you find that being a professional athlete has enormous pressure?
For me, not at the moment, I think, because I'm just at the beginning of my career, and no one really expects anything from me. Of course, I have expectations myself, but I can imagine that if you're the leader of your team and the whole team is working for you doing lead outs, and you have to perform every single day of a stage race, then I think it can, yeah, you can be under a lot of pressure. Yeah.
Jumbo-Visma, there's the women's team and there's also the men's team. And the men's team's been crazy dominant this year, like winning all three of the Grand Tours. Are they quite linked, the men and women's team, or are they completely separate entities?
That's an interesting question. I think at the moment there's it can be better, but it will be better. They've promised us, and still we get a lot of knowledge from the men's team. I mean, for example, the material already, what they do with aero testing, it also transfers to us, of course. Nutrition wise, it also transfers to us. So we get a lot of benefits from them. But I think they have plans to work together more closely, and starting from next year, this will happen. Yeah, there will also be some changes in the staff, which I cannot talk about too much, but I have a good feeling about it, and they will. Yeah, I think the link will be tighter than before, so that's, I think, a really good thing.
Yeah, for sure. What's been the biggest struggle getting into cycling at the highest level? What's been the challenge?
Oof. I think, yeah, just typical first year riding in the peloton, finding your way to the front. Riding in the front is, instead of riding at like completely on the first row, just sitting on the second row or third row, where you're protected from the wind but still in a good position. That's the hardest thing when you just start cycling. I think I learned it quite quickly, and at the moment, I don't really feel like I'm behind compared to my fellow teammates or competitors. So
And what is your favourite place to ride in the world?
I really like where I live, Maastricht. It has endless options in terms of roads. Because yeah, of course, I like Spain, Girona, for example, where we went on training camp. It's beautiful, but I have the feeling there is a lot less options. And here, yeah, it's you have. I still have a lot of roads that I've never ridden on, but yeah, maybe the mountains. I think it's nice to just switch it up sometimes, but I like where I live.
That's good. And do you do much cross
Yeah.
training?
I run a lot, well, at the moment because of the concussion, not. But I think that's really good, running for your bones first of all, but also just to do something else, and especially on the recovery day, I like to stay off the bike and do something else. Mentally, it's refreshing, and then I also do core training, and in the winter, strength training as well. And I have plans to buy a cross country bike, so I want to work on my skills more, and yeah, ride that more, but not really do competitions, just for training.
You say that now. Next year you might be like, I'm mountain biking now.
Well, I think that's one of the things you cannot pick up anymore when you're 26, unfortunately.
And what is the best race that you've ever done?
Maybe not. I wasn't maybe the best, but I really like Strade Bianche this year. Surroundings are just beautiful. The roads, really special races, and also you're coming out of winter. It's cold, and then you go to Italy, and it's so nice. Yeah, I think that race is really special. And I also like Liège, Bastogne Liège a lot. It's also because it's on my home training roads, and I think the course suits me generally because it's hilly but not too long. So in the future, I would like to do well on that.
That must be so cool, actually racing one of the biggest races in the calendar on the roads that you train on.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, the year before I started racing on this level, I just was on the side cheering for the riders, but now I'm in it. It's crazy.
I love that. And what does the off season look like for you?
Well, I've had a discussion about this with my trainer because he wants me to really take it easy. But I feel like after my crash in the tour, I did 10 days complete rest. So I feel like physically that was the moment that I completely rested, and she thinks differently about it because it was, yeah, of course I'm recovering from something, but and mentally I'm really not ready to end this season. So we've made a compromise. I keep training, or at least do endurance rides until the weather turns really bad, and then I take off maybe a week or something and do some fun stuff, or just no biking, and then I start again. So yeah, the typical off season is that you take 2-3 weeks completely off, but I don't need that at this moment, and I really enjoy riding. So yeah, I my ideal off season is to just keep riding without maybe a training schedule.
I feel like you've already answered this question by that previous answer, but I was going to ask you how you keep motivated, or is it a lot of discipline? But sounds like you're just here to ride your bike.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For me, at the moment, it's not a problem yet. I can imagine if you do this for 15 years, then at some point the winters start to become really hard. But no, this is just a dream for me, and I joke a lot about that I'm going to work when I take out my bike and go for a ride, and I think it's still unreal that this is my life.
And what's your favorite training session? Like you look on the plan and you're like, yeah, this is amazing.
We have a. I don't know if I can actually spill all our training regimes, but I think this one is okay. It's called a delta training, so it's like just above threshold and below VO2 max in between, and you go like 4 times 4 minutes in that zone, and with 1 minute recovery, for example, and that it feels you're really dead at the end, but you don't die as quickly when you do VO2 max, for example. So it's a slow death. I like it.
So it's not your favorite, it's just less painful than the others. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, maybe.
Do you have an in-house coach then for the team?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's one of the things with Jumbo-Visma. You have to have an in-house coach. But I really enjoyed or enjoy working with her. So I'm really happy.
Did you have a coach last year and then you had to change to a new person then?
Yes, but when I joined the Col-Wahoo, I was just training myself or just doing whatever. So then our DS said that I should really have a coach. So I took a coach, but that was just in June, I think. So I only worked with him for 4 months maybe, and it was mostly between races. So then, yeah, he didn't really have to make a training schedule. It's just more for off season, for example, that someone can really make a difference. So I hadn't really worked with him for that long, so it was fine.
Fair. What are your big goals with your cycling career?
It's funny because they asked me this question in the winter with Jumbo-Visma. The sports director, my coach, asked like, "Yeah, well, what are your goals this season?" And I was like, thinking in my head, well, my goal was just to get a bike sponsored. That was my goal to begin with the year before. I thought if I can just get the gear for free and I can do this for a hobby, then my life is complete. But now I all of a sudden got a salary as well with it. So I really didn't have goals in the beginning of the season. I thought just learning and helping my teammates. And then now throughout the season, I think I realized that maybe I can do well in finals. So for the short term, I would like to win a race at one point. It can be a very small race, it's okay. But long term, I don't know where my limits are. So just discover those, but also just riding for Marianne Vos, for example, or Rianne Marcus in our team. Those are such big riders and super nice people as well. And I like to completely give myself for them. Individually, I just want to see where I can go, and then maybe, yeah, I don't know exactly. I don't have a concrete goal for that.
For sure. You keep having to move the boundary further and further of bigger goals because you keep achieving them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Field hockey is very much a team sport. You'll be training, I imagine, with your teammates, doing loads of drills throughout the week as well as actually playing with them. Then cycling is kind of the complete opposite of that because you'll be out training for however many hours a week, a lot of the time solo. Do you find it lonely?
Hmm. No, because I don't train with my teammates maybe, but there's a big group of cyclists here living in Maastricht, also students that I got to know the past years. If you want to ride, most of the time there is someone to ride with. But I also like a lot of times to just ride by myself, because then you can just set your own pace, do your efforts. Yeah, I think I have a lot of enough contact with people that I have enough social contact, so I don't miss it that much. But if there's times that I want to ride with people, then I can. So
Do you listen to audiobooks or podcasts?
yes. Well, I have aftershock, so then when you're just riding on the flats or downhill or something, there's not much you can hear. So then I just do music. But if I'm in the mountains and there's a long climb, then I definitely turn on a podcast. Yeah.
You can actually get through like an audiobook or podcast so quickly. If you're riding the amount you are, you probably fly through them all.
Yeah.
What are the next races in your calendar?
Well, unfortunately, the season is almost ending, but there's 2 Italian races still coming up. On the 30th of September, it's called Emilia, d'Emilia, and then 2 days later, there's Trevali. So one in Bologna, one in Varese. I think Italy is always nice to race, just beautiful area. So I'm looking forward to those.
For sure. Do you feel like you can actually see much of the country that you go to? Or is it, I guess it just passes by so quickly?
Yes, mostly. Yeah, unfortunately, there's not that much time. Although when on a travel day when we arrive, I usually run. So then really like to explore the places, the place where we are. But on the other days, it's mostly lying on your hotel bed.
What's your least favorite airport?
Whew. I don't know, but I actually lately I've been traveling a lot by car. Because we've been going to pretty close races like Switzerland. It's not too far from me, and I'm like, okay, the soigneurs or mechanics also need to drive anyway, then I might as well just hop in with them. So that's lately has been my preferred method of transport.
A lot easier, I guess, than getting however many planes and having to wait at the airport for so long.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. Well, are there any more sporting careers on the horizon for you, or are you thinking cycling's going to stick? Apart from cross
In another
country.
life. I would have liked to be a mountain runner, what's it, like a trail runner. That I am very fascinated by those people, but I'm sure that's not. You cannot start that at the age of whenever I finish my cycling career, 34, 35 maybe.
To be
That's
fair,
not doable.
it
But
is the ultra running community. You actually do peak in your late 30s for ultra running, and you're going to have so many miles in your legs. I bet you in like 10 years, I'll have you back on the podcast and be like, so Eva, tell me about trail running.
don't give me ideas. I need a normal life maybe after this.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. As long as you don't have to eat pasta for breakfast for the rest of your life.
yeah, yeah.
Goodness me.
Mm.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much for coming on. That was really
Thank
fun
you.
to chat through it all. I actually love that you're like, yeah, I really want to be a
Thank
cyclist.
you.
And then you are a cyclist. Like you've made it already. How cool. To like literally the best team in the world.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. I'm living the dream, and I'm very I know it, so I think that's good.
So cool. Well, amazing. I hope the rest of the season goes well for you and that you're fully recovered from your concussion and that you can take a bit of time off the bike in your off season. Don't forget to not ride your bike the whole time. I'll
Thank
stop
you.